He saw her from across the trading post. 3 years. That's how long it had been. She looked the same. Same eyes. Same posture. Same way of standing that made every room feel smaller. But something was different. Beside her was a child. A boy. Approximately 2 winters old. And when Eirik looked at that boy's face, something inside him stopped. Because he recognized those eyes. He had seen them every morning of his life. In his own reflection. 3 years earlier, he had cast her out. In front of everyone. Every warrior. Every elder. Every face that would remember it forever. He thought he was protecting his honor. He didn't know he was walking away from the most important thing he would ever have. This is the story of Jarl Eirik. A man who made one decision in pride. And spent the rest of his life understanding what it cost him. Her name was Sigrid. She had come to him 7 years before as part of an alliance between clans. Not a love match. Not at first. But something had grown between them slowly. The way real things grow. Without announcement. Without drama. Just quietly becoming something neither of them had planned for. She was sharp where he was blunt. Patient where he was quick. The kind of woman who could walk into a room full of competing voices and find the one thread that held them all together. He had never told her what she meant to him. That was the kind of man he was. The kind who assumes the people around him already know. The kind who finds out too late that assuming is not the same as saying. The accusation came from a man named Bodvar, a warrior in Eirik's own clan, jealous of Sigrid's influence, threatened by the way the Jarl listened to her in council, calculating enough to know that the easiest way to remove a threat is to make someone else do it for you. He whispered first, then suggested. Then one night in the feast hall with enough mead flowing to loosen everyone's judgment, he said it openly, that Sigrid had been seen with another man, alone. Eirik didn't investigate. That was the truth he would carry for the rest of his life. He didn't ask questions, didn't seek proof, didn't give Sigrid the chance to speak before he had already decided. Because the accusation had landed in the part of him that was already afraid. The part that had always wondered why a woman like her had chosen to stay. And fear is the fastest route to the worst decision a man can make. He confronted her that night, in front of everyone. She looked at him across the fire and said 4 words. You know that's false. He looked back at her and said nothing. Because in that moment, in that silence, he made his choice. Not because he believed Bodvar, but because believing Bodvar was easier than believing he deserved her. He cast her out before dawn. She left with what she could carry, and she didn't look back. He told himself that meant she had nothing to say. He was wrong. She had everything to say. She simply understood that he wasn't ready to hear it. Before we go further, where are you watching from? Drop it in the comments. And if you haven't subscribed yet, do it now. These stories only get deeper from here. The first year without her was busy. Eirik filled it with raids and decisions, and the kind of constant motion that keeps a man from sitting still long enough to think. The second year was harder. The motion slowed, and in the quiet spaces it left behind, things surfaced that he hadn't been ready to face. The way the council felt different without her. The way decisions that used to come clearly now felt heavier. The way he sometimes started to say something and realized halfway through that he had been about to say it to her. By the third year, he had stopped pretending the quiet was acceptable. And then, on that gray morning at the trading post, he saw her, standing there, with the boy, with his eyes. He stood completely still. The trading post moved around him. Voices, movement, the ordinary noise of an ordinary morning. And in the middle of it all, Eirik stopped existing in the present moment entirely. Because his mind was doing the calculation that his heart already knew the answer to. Sigrid saw him. She didn't run. She didn't look away. She simply looked at him with the expression of a woman who had prepared for this moment, and was not surprised it had arrived. She picked up her son, held him against her shoulder, and waited. He walked toward her slowly. The words he had prepared for 3 years, the explanations, the justifications, the carefully constructed arguments for why he had done what he had done, dissolved completely. He looked at the boy. The boy looked back at him with calm, dark eyes that understood nothing, and somehow communicated everything. Eirik looked at Sigrid. How long? He asked. I knew the morning you cast me out, she said. The words arrived like a blade finding a gap in armor. You knew. Yes. And you said nothing. She looked at him steadily. You had already decided, she said. Would it have changed anything? He opened his mouth and closed it again, because the honest answer was the one he couldn't say out loud. He didn't know. He tried. That was the truth of what followed. He went to her settlement 3 times over the following months. Brought gifts. Brought words. Brought the kind of explanation that sounds complete, until the person you're explaining to reminds you of what the explanation leaves out. The first time she listened. The second time she listened less. The third time she met him at the door before he could knock. "I know why you're here," she said. "Then you know I want to make this right." She looked at him for a long moment. "Eirik," she said quietly, "you cast me out in front of everyone. Without a question. Without a moment. Without the basic belief that I was worth hearing. And now you want to come back. Not because you've changed. Because you found out there was a consequence." The words hit harder than anything he had faced in battle. Because they were true. Every one of them. "I have changed," he said. She looked at him with the expression of a woman who had spent 3 years becoming completely certain of exactly one thing. "Maybe," she said, "but my son deserves a father who never needed a consequence to know his mother's worth." She closed the door. He stood outside for a long time. The way men stand outside closed doors when they understand that the closing was final. Not angry, just final. He rode back to the Ironfjord alone. 3 days. The same road he had taken to reach her, but carrying something different on the return. Not grief exactly. Something heavier. The specific weight of a man who has seen, clearly, completely, without any room for self-deception, the exact moment his own failure began, and understood that the consequences of that moment were not going to be undone by wanting them to be. He removed Bodvar from his clan the following week. Quietly, without ceremony, without explanation to anyone who asked. He knew what he was doing. He just knew it was 3 years too late. Some lessons arrive on time. You hear them when they matter. You apply them before the cost becomes permanent. And some lessons arrive after, when the understanding is complete, but the window to use it is already closed. Eirik understood everything he needed to understand. He understood it perfectly and completely, and too late. He had cast her out in pride, taken back his own certainty instead of her truth, and spent the rest of his life knowing exactly what that decision had cost him. Not in battle, not in silver, in the boy with dark eyes who would grow up calling another settlement home, and the woman who had known from the beginning that he wasn't ready to deserve her. What would you have done if you were Eirik? Would you have asked the question before making the decision? And if you were Sigrid, would you have told him? Tell us in the comments. New stories every week. Subscribe to Beneath the Surface Stories, because it's never just about the battle. It's about what happens beneath the surface.